And just a couple more seconds here. Hello, everyone. I am Kaitlyn Algar, Psychic Moon Mentor, and I'm excited to bring you another Cosmic Tea Time chat. Today, I have a beautiful special guest with me, and we are going to dive into infusing more joy into your journey and talk about, emotional mastery to help you manifest your desires. And so, if you don't already know, I work with individuals to help you dive into the depths with you to clear out outdated cycles that aren't working for you anymore. And I love incorporating the journey of the moon on this so that you can really trust your intuition. It's a really big part of what I do. And so I want to introduce Jennifer. Jennifer, actually, could you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. Thanks so much, Kaitlyn. I just wanted to, first of all, express my gratitude and say, thank you for having me today. And I'm super excited to be here to have this conversation. Emotional mastery, I know, is just such, a hot topic for so many of us, right, on our Ascension journey. And so I'm excited to talk about that today. And for those who are new to my world, I am actually a spiritual teacher, Ascension guide, and an Akashic Records trauma-informed master consultant and instructor. And I mainly work with new earth leaders, light workers, and healers in supporting them to live fully expressed in their truth and the truth of who they are and how they're actually here to contribute. So yes, balancing emotions is definitely my jam. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, and I, work a lot with emotions as well. A hot topic is always manifestation and manifesting with the moon, right? And emotions can play a huge, huge part in that, right? And so, how do we walk this line to where we don't bypass, the not so feel good things, in order to just try to be like just in the light all the time? And so when clients are sort of walking through, you know, fear with you, how do you help them through that journey to make sure they're not, like many people say, like spiritual bypassing?
Yeah, so when they're walking through the fear,
Yeah, when they're sort of experience it, like when it's fresh and in their
yeah,
energy.
yeah. So real time as they're experiencing that, the first step really is holding space for them to step into an observer role to really, reflect on, okay, well, why am I feeling this fear, right? Where is this coming from? And sometimes, depending on what the answer is that comes back to us, it can be a very quick kind of, just, oh, you know, I didn't realize that. And it's an easy thing to change. And sometimes the answer can draw us to do some deeper exploration, right? Like there can be unhealed trauma, which is something with a lot of the people that I work with. There can be past life stuff, there can be, ancestral healing. Um, and we hold all of that, right, in our body. And so it's not even just our conscious awareness and our conscious choices that influence our emotions, it's the energies in our body as well, because everything is really originates from an energetic frequency, right? So just the first key is really having that willingness to look at essentially whatever it is. You mentioned the term earlier, spiritual bypassing, right? And that does happen, this comes from, I believe the spiritual bypassing comes a lot from how many of us have had programming around the need to people please, right? And put ourselves last. And so And then, in being a light worker, many light workers, healers, new earth leaders have had this as part of their ascension journey, right? Learning the truth, which is that putting yourself last isn't, like the way forward. Essentially, it's really about how can you put yourself first. And when you take care of yourself first in all the ways, including mastering your emotions, then your capacity to live your purpose and mission in the world and to hold space for others expands, exponentially. So really having the willingness to look at yourself, as how you see yourself is really important. And then the next step is taking action, right? It's having that willingness to take action, because sometimes we can have an awareness and then allow ourselves to hesitate in terms of taking actions to realign with how we actually want to feel. I feel like that answer was a little bit long-winded, but really explaining, right? Like the practical steps of how you can move through that, going kind of back to the spiritual bypassing, I feel like sometimes as light workers and healers, we feel like, right, we always need to show up from a place of love. And in our intentions to do that, sometimes the bypassing happens as a result of allowing our ego to run the show in terms of thinking, okay, I need to show up from a place of love, and not necessarily being fully embodied in that, love and light. And so, yeah, because sometimes love can show up in many forms, right?
Yeah, it really can. And yeah, and giving yourself permission to, sort of feel those things. And I love how you talked about, stepping into the observer role. I often guide my clients through a process where, I invite them to stay open and curious, right? I find myself saying that so often, but because it can be the stories that we attach to the emotions or what we're experiencing, whether it's physical sensations or thoughts or, emotions, what have you. And then we just like perpetuate sort of this energy and make it last longer than it necessarily has to. But then when we can have this open curiosity, can sort of dive in a little bit deeper and closer to that sensation or that emotion. Where does it reside in my body? What am I feeling? When is the first time I felt this way? Who do I know in my life who sort of has felt this or expressed in this way? Having the observer role, I, enjoy guiding people through that. So it can help just flip the lens a little bit and switch the perspective to where we don't own it quite as much and it doesn't feel as much part of our identity. I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not just a cliche. We are, our souls are eternal. We're an energetic light being, here having a human experience. So our human self is an aspect of us. It isn't us. And so being able to start to look at our experiences in that way as opportunities for learning, as invitations for mastery, being able to have that awareness and embody that is a game changer.
A big game changer. Yeah, absolutely. And what was I going to say? So many things. I'm like, I can jump on this button and this button. There's so many directions we can take these conversations. Yeah, which is part of why, I love it. But yeah, taking that sort of observer role. And like I mentioned in like the description of, our chat today, like an emotion actually lasts 90 seconds, right? And so it's part of those like stories and ideas and like, is it attached to our attachments to it? The attachment, is it part of our identity or what have you, can make it sort of last longer. And it's interesting sort of what I found, and I'm curious, what you've sort of experienced and your work as well. If you dive closer into the emotion or dive into the energy that might not that might start out not feeling so good, right? If you start diving into it, it can like release, and it doesn't actually last as long as we might think that it's sort of going to, which is sort of like natural to not want to dive in and not want to do like the shadow work and things, right? But because we're human, right? We don't want to not feel good, but when we do, it can like dissipate quicker, I found.
Yeah, I mean, it's programming, it's ancestral programming, it's societal programming, that the healing journey, and it's prominent in spiritual communities too, right? That the healing journey has to be something difficult, right? And it has to be long and drawn out, and that we can get into this mode of feeling like we're broken and we have to fix ourselves. And this goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago in terms of looking at our human self as an aspect of us, and that it isn't us. Like when we're able to do that, and remember that we're not broken, we don't need to be fixed, nothing's wrong, we're already whole. This whole journey is even beyond learning, it's remembering your wholeness and who you already are. All you're doing with these stories and these emotions is peeling back the layers. Anything that doesn't feel aligned is just an aspect of you that is coming forward to be explored, to be acknowledged, to be faced, in whatever that is. And then once you have this new awareness, then it becomes a matter of you consciously choosing that you want to feel differently, right? Like a really easy thing that I teach people when they're working on raising their emotional frequency is to develop an anchor for themselves. So what's a memory in your life, right? Or a dream that you have, for that matter, that brings you a lot of joy? Use that, right? Really feel into that, anchor in that energy, that feeling of joy. And then every time you're in a lower vibe place, you can refer to that anchor. Beyond awareness, right? It's the taking the action, and it requires momentum and discipline and consistency. It's not the sexy, glamorous, unicorn, rainbow part of, the spiritual work.
Of spirituality, yeah, exactly.
It's a very key part of the work, right? Because every time you make a conscious decision that you're going to reclaim your power as a divine creator and feel joy in your journey and your existence, you're creating new neural pathways. And so the consistency and the discipline over time, it becomes more and more natural until it truly becomes embodied as your state of being, and it's not something that you have to be as focused on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I found that as well, even in like the simple practices, it's like, even if you just concentrate on having that 1 minute, even if it's just 1 minute of, focused breath, or 1 minute of meditation, or whatever it is, consistently, that is going to add up and be more effective for you than, once in a blue moon, or that 30-minute session you have once a month, or however long, right? And so let it be messy, let it be imperfect, like use the time that you have, lean into it, and say yes to an opportunity to sort of shift it. And you mentioned momentum in there, and as you were talking, I was hearing more about like movement, right? And so when we sort of acknowledge that maybe not so feel good emotion, dive into it. One thing that I found, and I still love to do myself too, is like movement, like physical movement, to actually help shift your energy, or to change the frequency, or just allow to help you even dive into whatever it is that you're experiencing, to like really fully express it. But what have you found? What tools do you enjoy leading clients with?
Yeah. So, I mean, the importance of having, well, first of all, we'll say the importance of having a clear vision about not just, the stuff you want to acquire in the world, or even as much what you want to achieve in your purpose or your business, as the feeling that that brings you, and matching the energetic frequency of who you want to be. So, regardless of emotional mastery or any other component of the ascension journey, that is really the first thing. It's like, reclaim your power as a divine creator. Put your stake in the ground and decide. Make a conscious decision on what you want to call into your life. And then build your roadmap around that, right? So establish daily success habits that align with that, essentially living congruent to that version of you is what you're going for. And so meditation is something that I encourage everybody to be tapped into, and sometimes people shy away from meditation because it's like, oh, I have to sit in this
Yeah.
quiet space, and there is value in mindfulness. Okay, there is value in that type of meditation, but going on a walk in nature can be a meditative experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exercising sometimes can be a meditative experience, and the key is just really having the willingness to explore what works for you, because each of our paths is unique. So, we ask for what we want and we have these desires on our heart. Well, we need to create space to receive, right? To receive that inspired action. I would say that is the number one practice. And then having the willingness, as we mentioned earlier in the conversation, to take action and face, whatever comes forward. So whether that's, shadow work, or your soul is guiding you to change your relationships, or to change your focus in your business, or your career, this is happening. I love the synchronicity of our conversation, because this is very strong right now in the collective. So many of us are being called into that next level, and it can feel uncomfortable as F, you know what I'm saying? Don't know if profanity is welcome in this conversation or not.
They are.
But it feels fucking difficult, right? It feels really fucking uncomfortable. And a lot of people are experiencing that right now. If someone even really took in what we've even talked about so far today, everything would change, right? Mm-hmm. So just having that willingness to go deep, to face whatever it is that comes through and take action on it, even if it means making other changes in other areas of your life to become congruent to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those little whispers, those little nudges from spirit, you mentioned several examples: changing your relationship, going in a new direction in your business, whatever that nudge is that's coming from inside, right? Those are little nuggets that your spirit and your spirit team is trying to give you to get that joy, to get that thing that you're after, that thing that, your intention that you said. And it can feel really uncomfortable in that process of expansion and really stretching. And something that, I still go back to and has helped me even in my early days as well, showing up live, or having conversations, or, putting offers out there, getting on sales call, and, giving people opportunities to dive in deeper, to remember, their true nature, to remember that they know what is best for them, and to start trusting that more, right? Was that if I could show up and just impact one person, if just one person could connect to, what I said, okay, then it's worth it, right? Right? Because that's going to have an impact on their life, and I'm in it for the ripple effect. I know that someone in their life, whether it's their spouse, their child, a coworker, a friend, someone is going to also be affected by that shift that they make. and then be inspired to make positive, you know, changes
Yes,
in their life as well.
absolutely. Something else that I would consider a pillar of the work that I do with clients is this is beyond intuitive development. You know, this is getting tuned in to what truth feels like in your body, right? What does a grounded knowing feel like for you? Having that anchored into your body positively impacts your emotional mastery, manifesting every area of your life, right? Because when you know what truth feels like for you, then making decisions and taking action to make changes and doing what you need to do to put yourself first comes very easily because you already have this knowing. There is no question, you know, and so beyond knowing what truth feels like in your body, right, being acutely tapped into your soul's guidance. So developing your psychic abilities, knowing what that intuitive voice, how that comes through for you is really important as well, because when you're acutely tuned into those pieces, right, then everything else just kind of falls into place because you already know. You know what's real and what's not. And especially in the times that we're living in right now, as we're transitioning into this new earth, right, knowing what is truth and what is not truth, being able to see through the veils of illusion is everything. Because there's a lot of noise, right, in the world that tells us that this is this way and this is that way, and a lot of it's bullshit. So
So much of it is bullshit. Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm just picturing like this practice, this consistent practice of, you know, what does truth look like in my body, right? And maybe talking to spirit, talking to your spirit team, or, you know, whatever word of source that you like to connect with, and asking like, okay, show me what that feels like in my body, and then tuning in and seeing what that feels like for you. Also, there's another practice that I connected to more recently as I was helping someone explore, you know, clairsentience and that psychic sense of feeling, you know, of connecting to an object that you have. For me, let's just say a crystal, like citrine crystal, but it could be any object, and maybe an object you like love. Maybe it sparks a memory of like joy for you or something, but you really love it, right? And connect with that item, right? Start to picture and start tune into, okay, how does this item like make me feel? But do that consistently until you can start to recognize it, and it just gets a little bit more familiar. And so outside of that practice, then, right, like you're talking about, or like I was hearing you say, then you know, like when you're close to that feeling again, it's like, okay, this is a yes, right? And it gets easier to sort of block out the other distractions, the other choices and options to
yes,
connect with, whoop, nope, there's that feeling I'm after. Yeah, that's it.
yes, 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 yes to all of this. So much. So yes, you know, being tuned in through our bodies is so important because our human body, we are half heaven, half earth. But what happens also often, right, and in a lot of the personal development industry and in manifesting, you know, as an example, a great example, is that we're on this quest, we're on this awakening, right? We're on this ascension journey. But what happens is we default to taking things in through our mind. When we
Mm-hmm.
need to intentionally tune into our heart, right? Because the mind serves a purpose. The human mind serves a purpose, like, you know, how do I use a fork to eat my dinner or put gas in my car or, you know, those kind of things. But if we rely on our mind only for evolution, it's always going to make decisions for us based upon its environmental conditioning and past experience. Our heart center is the intersection of the spiritual and physical. So that's where our soul's guidance resides, and our soul is always going to guide us toward expansion.
And how can somebody, like, how do you help people tune into that feeling of of truth for them? Is there like a practice? Is there like a practical? I'm like connecting to some people who are like, yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying, but also like tangibly, like, can we break it down a little bit?
Yeah. So a real easy way to do that, to start getting tuned into that, is similar to what I was talking about earlier in terms of anchoring in joy, is thinking back, reflecting back on a memory or an experience in your life where you just knew something. And it can be any kind of situation, right? But you just had a knowing. And then it turned out to be what you thought it was going to be, right? This is, psychic development, but it's also illustrating for you what that truth, what that knowing feels like in your body. So thinking back on a time where you just knew something and then it came to be, and remembering how you felt. I don't know about you, but for me and a lot of the clients that I work with, there are experiences that we have in our life that we don't have to write down or journal about. When they happen, we always remember them just as vividly as when we experience them for the first time, right? That's the kind of knowing that I'm talking about. And every one of us has had some kind of instance like that. So that's the first step that I encourage clients to take in terms of starting to get grounded into that truth. Like, what does that truth feel like for you? And another good way to describe it is that if anyone is familiar with Joan of Arc, the Joan of Arc archetype, one of my favorite quotes from her is, "I'm not afraid. I was born to do this." It's a grounded knowing, a determined energy. You can feel the energy in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that feel like for you?
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I love sharing that. I'm excited that, we could share this message today. And hopefully we can do more chats like this, because again, like I said, like, oh, we can jump on this topic, we can go in this direction. It's so amazing. But I love having you. And share with people, like, how can they find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah. So the best place to go, is my website in terms of all the things, right? To learn more about me. I also have a podcast called Path of the Awakened Heart, where we talk about all kinds of juicy things like this, every week. And I'm active on social media, obviously Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And actually right now, in prep for our upcoming summer solstice this month, I'm offering soul blueprint assessments at a discounted rate from the normal investment to have a private session with me, because so many of us, as we mentioned earlier, are being called to these big transformations and changes right now. What I'm offering in these private sessions is an opportunity to go into your Akashic records. And I have a gift for actually being able to I'm a channel as well, and I can tune in immediately to what someone's highest path is here, along with where there are opportunities, right, to clear some obstacles and realign, which includes the energetic healing as well, along with next steps for integration. So I'm offering those actually now through Saturday, so someone can go to my page to catch more info on that.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I love doing Akashic records. It's really powerful. Really powerful work. So, yes, so excited. Thank you again for being here. And anyone who would like to connect with me further, make sure you're in my group, Moon Manifesting Lunar Abundance. And if you'd like to dive into your personal lunar prosperity codes, I would love to help you dive into your personal birth chart and give you the blueprint essentially to welcome more prosperity in your life. So you can comment prosperity or message me if you're interested in that. And right now, that program, Lunar Prosperity Codes, also includes a soul purpose session where I look at your unique birth chart, identify your soul purpose as outlined in your birth chart, and give you guidance to align with that more fully. So I would love to connect with you there inside Lunar Prosperity Codes. But thank you, everyone, so much for watching, and we'll be back again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.